Office for Europe, it's my great pleasure to provide an overall moderation for today's high-level roundtable on accelerating digital development through multi-stakeholder partnerships held within the framework of the Regional Forum on Sustainable Development for Europe and Central Asia, as well as World Summit on the Information Society Forum. But before we are delving into the topic, I would like to give the floor to our technical moderator, Ms. Alina Gergut, who will provide the house rules of this meeting. The floor is yours, Alina.
Thank you, Mr. Yaroslav. So thank you for dear participants. Thank you for joining. I'll be the technical moderator for this meeting. So before starting the session, I would like you to give some instruction on the Zoom platform. So this meeting is entirely remote and held in a webinar format. You are invited to use the chat for any comments. You may also use the Q&A function to ask any questions you might have. My colleagues will be monitoring, and any comment or question may be read out if time allows. The meeting also benefits from live transcription and English-Russian interpretation in a few minutes. So please select the live transcription and your preferred language from the bottom bar of the Zoom interface. For speakers, please ensure that you have chosen the appropriate channel interpretation that corresponds to your spoken language when you would like to intervene. The meeting is recorded and live streamed on YouTube and Twitter, and the recordings will be available on the website around 24 hours after the event. So every effort is being made to facilitate the smooth flow of the meeting. Thank you, and I wish you a successful meeting. Back to you, Mr. Yaroslav. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this. And ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations Digital Transformation Group for Europe and Central Asia, established under the UN Regional Collaborative Platform for Europe and Central Asia and coordinated by ITU and UNECE, is pleased to welcome you today on the first day of the Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, and on this occasion of a special high-level peer learning roundtable, which will address the key role of the multi-stakeholder and cross-sectoral collaboration holds on for fostering the digital development. This morning opening remarks of the forum, delivered by many distinguished colleagues, but also joined by the Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, all pointed at the need to provide access to the internet connectivity and address the digital divide to advance on the SDG agenda. Speakers also emphasized the critical role that collaboration plays to ensure digital development for all, reinforcing the relevance of today's session, which encourages all to partner to connect. So therefore, dear colleagues, welcome to this session. And it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome and to hand over the floor to our distinguished colleagues opening this event, starting with Mr. Stephen Bureau, Deputy to the Director of the Development Bureau of the International Telecommunications Union. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yaroslav, for the introduction, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants joining. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and speakers, thank you for joining us today, and it's my pleasure, my great pleasure, on behalf of the International Telecommunication Union, and in my capacity as the Deputy to the Director of the Telecommunication Development Bureau, to open this high-level peer learning roundtable today. We will be discussing how to accelerate digital development through multi-stakeholder partnerships. The UN Secretary General's Our Common Agenda emphasizes that over the next 25 years, digital inclusivity is and will be a key component required to ensure that no one is left behind when advancing on the Sustainable Development Agenda. In this age of digital interdependence, working in silos is no longer an option. It is only by leveraging the mandates of each agency and the potential and expertise of all stakeholders that we can ensure that the access, affordability, and use of the connected world is achieved in all countries and regions and for all people. This includes women and girls, youth, marginal and vulnerable populations. This vision is embedded in the UN Secretary General's roadmap for digital cooperation, which nurtures a concept of a sustainable, robust digital transformation for all through more effective global digital cooperation. This roadmap provides a design that brings together the common goals of ensuring universal and meaningful connectivity, taking a human-centered approach to digital transformation, and protecting everyone from online risks and harm. Ladies and gentlemen, this event also contributes to the United Nations World Summit on the Information Society, or WSIS for short, that since its two phases in 2003 and 2005, fosters multilateral and multidisciplinary engagement and cooperation involving civil societies and public and private entities. It provides a set of actions to fast-track the potential of ICTs to enable sustainable development. Since 2015, the WSIS and SDG processes have been more aligned than ever before to complement efforts in helping countries around the world to use digital technology for good. But to achieve this, numerous challenges still remain. Recent statistics reveal a connectivity Grand Canyon separating the digitally empowered from the digitally excluded, with 2.9 billion people still offline, and 96% of those living in the developing world. ITU continues its strategy to connect the unconnected and bridge the digital divide to encourage the uptake of digital innovation and technologies, goods and services through a whole ecosystem approach to enable social, economic, and environmental growth. These objectives are covered by our 10 thematic priorities and are defined in a specific set of targets under our Connect 2030 agenda. Within its capacity as the UN Specialized Agency for ICTs and Digital, ITU is pleased to co-lead with UNECE and manage the UN Digital Transformation Group for Europe and Central Asia. This partnership offers a platform for us to work together with sister agencies of the UN family and to capitalize on the synergies offered by our mandates to widespread digital transformation across the region. 2022 marks an important milestone for digital development. The World Telecommunication Development Conference, which will be held from the 6th to the 16th of June in Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, will set our areas of action for the next 4 years, reflecting the needs of our member states to advance on the digital agenda. Several milestones have been put in place toward this conference, among which the Generation Connect Youth Summit, which will be held before the conference, will aim to channel the voices and aspirations of the digital natives into key policy decisions and to present their perspectives for the future of our gigabit societies and economies. To capture all the commitments towards advancing digital development, the ITU, in close cooperation with the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Technology, has launched the Partner to Connect Digital Coalition, or as we call it, P2C. P2C aims to leverage the power of a multi-stakeholder and transboundary approach to digital. It is built on the principles of inclusion, partnership, and SDG-focused digital development, which aims to answer the who, what, why, and how of achieving inclusive connectivity and digital transformation for all. To do so, P2C focuses on 4 areas which resonate with the SDG 17: connecting people everywhere, empowering communities, building digital ecosystems, and incentivizing investment. These 4 focus areas, also being the pillars of today's discussion, provide a global action framework to mobilize and announce new resources, partnerships, and commitments to promote sustainable digital technology uptake and ensure meaningful connectivity for everyone. I take this opportunity today to call upon all stakeholders to join Partner to Connect Digital Coalition and to submit your pledge through its pledging system that will serve as the key place for leaders across government, business, civil society, and academic sectors to declare their firm commitments to close the digital divide, and as a marketplace that we hope will catalyze new partnerships and collaboration. By going through each P2C focus area, we hope that today's session will help to capture pointers of immense value to other countries that are eyeing a similar path on their digital transformation journey. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope that this session will help us to unravel the necessary dimensions which will ensure a universal, meaningful, and inclusive connected world, and the role that multi-stakeholder partnerships can and should play on this effort. I wish you all a fruitful discussion. Thank you, and back over to you, Jaroslav.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And now it's my great pleasure to invite to deliver the opening remarks Ms. Olga Algayerova, who is the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jaroslav, also for very professional introduction to this roundtable. So, dear Stephen Barrow, Deputy Director of ITU, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is with really my great pleasure that I welcome you today to the peer learning roundtable on accelerating digital development through multi-stakeholder partnerships with the UN Economic Commission for Europe, is co-organizing jointly with the International Telecommunications Union in the framework of the Regional Forum on Sustainable Development for the UNECE region. I am delighted to welcome delegates from across the globe and from a range of organizations. Your engagement in accelerating digital development is a testament to our joint commitment and dedication to advancing this issue. We are all connected remotely today from different time zones and different settings, and this in fact forms the very base of our partnership, increasingly driven by the demand for digital development in the past years. As we stay connected despite the global challenges such as COVID-19 restrictions, there has been an increasing demand globally for advanced technologies and digital transformation. We have entered a new digital era, and it is extremely important that we, as international community, join forces with policymakers, regulators, communities, and most importantly, youth, to seek collaborative solutions for accessible, affordable, and safe connectivity. Digital development has a huge potential for a positive change, and it is instrumental to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, particularly its SDG 17 partnership for the goals. It is important to ensure that this transformation is inclusive, safe, and well-governed. The issue of digital cooperation has been very high on the United Nations agenda, and I would like to highlight just a few following initiatives. On the global scale, the UN Secretary General launched a roadmap for digital cooperation, which calls for enhancing global digital cooperation among other priority areas. The Secretary General's Envoy on technology has been appointed with a mandate to lead implementation of the roadmap, facilitate dialogue and recommendations, and serve as an advocate and focal point for digital cooperation. At the regional level, in our UNECE region, member states decided that its 70th Commission session, scheduled for April 2023, will focus on digital and green transformations for sustainable development in the UNECE region. Contributions from UNECE's governance architecture are being collected in preparation to the session and in the efforts to showcase activities supporting the digital agenda, as well as to foster digital development in the region. And finally, in the context of this session, I would like to highlight our long-standing collaboration with the ITU in many areas, including connectivity, smart sustainable cities, as well as on electronic business. I am pleased to share that since March 2020, UNECE has been co-chairing UN Digital Transformation Group for Europe and Central Asia jointly with the ITU Together, we seek to deliver a one UN response to the cross-cutting priority through cooperation between different UN agencies in the field of digital transformation. I'm truly encouraged by momentum that we have jointly generated both at global and regional levels. And I hope that these efforts will translate into priorities of your national agendas as well. As we embark on the digital transformation journey, we must consider potential challenges down the road. We need to ensure that this transformation is inclusive, sustainable, and resilient, and that we are mindful of potential environmental and privacy risks. Most importantly, we must make sure that accelerating digital transformation doesn't contribute to enhancing inequalities and increasing the further digital divide. As you may know, as of 2021, only 63% of the world's population had access to internet, which means that at least 3 billion people, mostly in developing countries, are still lacking access to internet and hence don't participate in the digital progress. In the UNECE region, for example, in Tajikistan, only 36% of population had access to internet in 2019, according to UNCTAD, which means that more than 60% of the population don't benefit from digital development, and most of them, unfortunately, are women. We shouldn't contribute to the growing digital divide and to greater inequalities. We should rather collaborate towards closing a digital gap, considering a gender aspect and connecting more people together in a safe, inclusive, and affordable way. At the UNECE, we are working closely with other agencies to address these challenges. And I hope that this event today will be an opportunity to reflect on the past, to assess the ongoing efforts, and to pave the way forward. As we recover from the pandemic, as we learn our lessons, we must look forward with determination to thrive. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, let me emphasize that your engagement and participation in the meeting today are a testament to our joint commitment to advancing digital development and delivering on the 2030 agenda. I'm confident that together we can capitalize on digital development potential and accelerate progress towards achieving safe and sustainable internet for everyone. I look forward to continuing our joint efforts to making this digital transformation a success for everyone, and I wish you successful deliberations. Back to you, Jaroslav.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Algajerova, for all these kind words and also for inspiring speech. Thank you very much, Stephen, also for setting the context and conveying the strategic messages. With this, I would like to declare that opening ceremony arrives not to the close, because in front of us we have a special guest today, and this is His Excellency Admirim Aliti, Minister of the Ministry of the Information Society and Administration of the North Macedonia, who will deliver a special guest statement and share his vision in terms of digital agenda for his country, and the enabling power of ICTs for development and the importance of the partnership building. So with this, I would like to hand over the floor to His Excellency.
Thank you, Jaroslav. Dear Mr. Stefan Beroks, dear Mrs. Olga Algajerova, dear Mr. Ponder, dear participants, it's really an honor to be part of this event organized by the ITU, and I think that the topic is very important. There is a great need in all countries, both in political level and in other levels, that we must work in the direction to connect all the people and to have a digital inclusivity. And as we know, in Europe and in many countries of the world, there are big discrepancies between one country and another. While we have, countries that we can admire for digital inclusivity, we still have countries where a lot of regions, a lot of people have no connection to internet, let's say, or today with the media that we consume and with the trends that we have, also we have problem with the speed of our connections. So I think that it's important that countries focus more on this. And to accelerate this process, I think these events like today are of great help, because they just bring together different participants from different countries, where they have the possibility to share ideas and to share good experiences used in one country and applicable to the other. One of the topics used in this event, I think, is very important to emphasize, and that is the multi-stakeholder approach. This, I think, depending on the level that we see, is important because today, let's say in connectivity, I see as a main stakeholder is the ITU, which is like the bridge to connect other countries, but also countries need to help each other to reach connectivity, at least by sharing good practices and experiences. But also we need to find a way that within the country there is bigger cooperation between government institutions, academia, and private sector, because there is a sense that in certain countries we have the knowledge, but that knowledge is isolated in one of the stakeholders. So that's why bringing forces together of all stakeholders is very important to reaching the goal of connecting all the people. And in my closing remark, I just want to congratulate ITU and all the organizers for today's event, because I think that we need these kind of events as often as possible, because these are one of those elements that that help us to expedite our road to connecting all the people and to improving digital inclusivity. Thank you very much.
Excellency Aliti, thank you very much for inspiring words and for drawing attention to key components which we must integrate while we think further on digital transformation and the achievement of the 2030 agenda. I also want to take this opportunity to thank you for great collaboration with the ITU through the Office for Europe on these topics, such as digital skills, child protection, and the connectivity. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, so welcome one more time to this session. This session also builds upon the pre-event on this topic of the digital transformation beyond the COVID-19, which was held on the 1st of April. This side event took a look at the different aspects of the digital component contributing and enabling the achievement of the SDGs 4, 5, 14, 15, and 17 as expected by the HLPF. And therefore, this makes us proud that on the occasion of this event, we are able to provide to you already the outcomes of this meeting and to build upon those discussions. But this event also is benefiting from different inputs from the other groups, including our youth envoys, who will be joining us and conveying the voice of the youth. But now it's my great pleasure to welcome to the floor Ms. Natalia Mociu, Regional Director of the ITU Regional Office for Commonwealth of Independent States, and Ms. Elizabeth Turk, Director of the Economic Cooperation and Trade at the UNECE, who will be our co-moderators of today's discussion. And with this, I'm handing over the floor to Natalia. Natalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yaroslav, for such a great introduction, very cheerful, and indeed feels and is a great discussion, a great event that we are holding all together in frames of the Regional Sustainable Development Forum. And it is my greatest pleasure to co-moderate this event together with you and with Elizabeth. And taking into account that we are a multi-language region and benefiting of the interpretation that we have here today, let me turn to Russian language so that our Russian-speaking participants also feel fully inclusive into our event. Уважаемые дамы и господа, уважаемые коллеги, позвольте мне продолжить на русском языке. Мы начинаем продолжаем нашу работу и начинаем дискуссию в рамках первого сегмента сегодняшнего мероприятия, который касается подключения всех людей везде. Исключительно важная тема, касающаяся необходимости обеспечения качественно доступного подключения во всех странах нашего региона. Как уже было сказано ранее во вступительных словах сегодняшнего мероприятия и Стивеном, и Ольгой, создание многосторонних партнерств является предпосылкой, обязательным условием для достижения целей в области устойчивого развития. И роль катализатора в этом процессе играют в том числе инновационные цифровые технологии. И для достижения целей не оставить никого позади, мы, помимо всего прочего, должны, конечно, обеспечить универсальное подключение к интернету. И именно этой теме мы посвящаем сегодняшний сегмент нашей сессии, в рамках которой, я надеюсь, мы услышим много интересных и таких прорывных предложений и идей от наших выступающих. Сегодня в качестве выступающих с нами участвует его превосходительство Саймон Мэнли, представитель Великобритании, господин Дражко Милинович, представитель Сербии, и с нами должен был сегодня участвовать его превосходительство господин Асхат Аразбек, заместитель министра Казахстана, однако в последнюю минуту он не смог к нам подключиться ввиду объективных причин, поэтому вместо него и от его имени выступит наш новый участник, господин Асет Досымханов. И позвольте мне пригласить Асета первым выступить и первым ответить на вопрос. Асет является исправляющим директором инфокоммуникационного холдинга ЗРД в Республике Казахстан и непосредственно работает с Министерством цифрового развития, инновациями и аэрокосмической промышленности Республики Казахстан над проектами, касающимися инфраструктуры связи в Республике Казахстан. Асет, скажите, пожалуйста, поделитесь с нами, какие проблемы стоят перед страной в деле создания надежной инфраструктуры ИКТ и какие примеры успешных партнерств вы могли бы привести, которые направлены на обеспечение универсального подключения в Казахстане, в которых вы в том числе участвуете. Асет, пожалуйста, вам слово.
Спасибо большое, Наталья. Уважаемые участники форума, уважаемые коллеги, благодарю в целом за данную мне возможность выступить на форуме. Отвечая на вопрос, хотел бы отметить, что во всем мире пандемия COVID-19 обнажила проблемы со связью. Существующий цифровой разрыв между сельской и городской местностью, например, в сфере образования, еще больше обострился. Низкая скорость или отсутствие интернета вкупе с резко возросшим объемом трафика в течение некоторого времени не позволило обеспечить качественный доступ к образовательным ресурсам. В целом, согласно статистике, почти 90% населения страны пользуются интернетом, но подключение с обеспечением бесперебойной связи для удаленных и малонаселенных регионов все еще остается проблемой. Почти все государственные школы имеют доступ к интернету, это около 99,7%, хотя средняя скорость значительно различается по регионам, и только 59% школ имеют доступ к широкополосному интернету. 74% школ имеют менее 10 мегабит в секунду, 26% школ от общего количества менее 4 мегабит в секунду, тогда как для быстрого и надежного доступа к интернету требуется не менее 20 мегабит в секунду. Признано, что волоконно-оптические линии связи являются самым лучшим способом связи и передачи данных. Учитывая обширные территории и малую плотность населения в Республике Казахстан, прокладка волс по всей стране в большинстве случаев является нерентабельным мероприятием для операторов связи. Хотя на рынке существует сравнительно достаточный уровень конкуренции, в сельских населенных пунктах все еще требуется вовлеченность государства. Пожалуй, это самая большая трудность в построении прочной и надежной инфраструктуры ИКТ в Республике Казахстан. И для решения данной проблемы министерство проводится целенаправленная работа. Например, вот в 2018-2020 годах были реализованы 2 масштабных проекта. Первое – это обеспечение сельских населенных пунктов широкополосным доступом к сети интернет по технологии ВОЛС и обеспечение мобильным широкополосным доступом сельских населенных пунктов с населением более 250 человек. Также стоит отметить, что одним из решений для обеспечения отдаленных сельских школ качественным интернетом является партнерство между Министерством цифрового развития, инноваций и аэрокосмической промышленности Республики Казахстан, ЮНИСЕФ и Международным союзом электросвязи по совместной реализации инициативы ГИГА. Первым результатом совместной работы стало обеспечение широкополосным доступом к интернету для 38 школ Туркестанской области в прошлом году. Это позволило почти 19 976 ученикам, почти 20 тысяч, улучшить доступ к онлайн-образованию и повысить качество образования. Также, пользуясь данной возможностью, в качестве члена управляющего комитета ГИГа в Казахстане, я хотел бы еще раз выразить благодарность ЮНИСЕФ и МЦЭ за реализацию инициативы ГИГа в Казахстане. Несмотря на ограничения из-за пандемии, в прошлом году были достигнуты определенные положительные результаты. В Туркестанской области Республики Казахстан удалось реализовать первые шаги. Так, 38 школ данной области были подключены к широкополосному интернету. Этот положительный опыт мы хотели бы распространить и в другие регионы Казахстана. В этой связи со стороны представительства Детского фонда ООН в Казахстане и МЦЭ разработан и утвержден на заседании управляющего комитета ГИГа план работы по предоставлению всем казахстанским детям доступа к интернету в течение последующих 5 лет. В заключении хотел бы выразить надежду на то, что партнерство с МЦЭ и ЮНИСЕФ в рамках инициативы ГИГа смогут снизить цифровой разрыв и повысить качество образования для детей в нашей стране. Благодарю за внимание.
Асад, спасибо большое за ваше выступление и за конкретный пример того партнерства, которое в настоящее время реализуется, в котором участвует Казахстан совместно с МСЭ и ЮНИСЕФ, наша такая флагманская инициатива ГИГа по подключению всех школ. И отрадно слышать успехи, которые уже достигнуты. Да, порядка 20 тысяч учеников, которые получили подключение, это достаточно высокие результаты. Мы искренне надеемся и желаем успехов в реализации этой платформы дальше. И еще один момент, на который бы я хотела обратить внимание в вашем выступлении, это такое планирование долгосрочное на последующие 5 лет. Это показывает, что страна и мы в рамках этого партнерства смотрим серьезно на решение задач подключения всех школ, не только на какую-то ближайшую короткую перспективу, но и с таким упором, с взглядом на будущее. Спасибо большое еще раз, Асет, и наилучшие пожелания успехов Казахстану в полном подключении и достижении значительно более высоких скоростей, чем 4 или 10 мегабит, которые вы тоже обозначили. Я бы хотела пригласить на наш виртуальный подиум нашего следующего выступающего, господина Саймона Мэнли. Ваше превосходительство, господин Мэнли, является послом и постоянным представителем Соединенного Королевства при ВТО, ООН и других международных организациях в Женеве и имеет очень большой опыт работы на дипломатической службе. Господин Мэнли, позвольте задать вам следующий вопрос. Почему, как вы считаете, почему необходимо нам всем действовать незамедлительно для улучшения глобальной цифровой связи, подключения? И как ваша страна работает с Международным союзом электросвязи и с другими международными партнерами для решения этой задачи? Господин Мэнли, пожалуйста, вам слово.
Natalia, look, thank you very much, and it's a great honour to be here on this kind of virtual podium with such distinguished speakers on such an important issue. Yeah? And I think as we've all been reflecting, the last few years of the pandemic have provided sort of a curious lesson. Yeah? So the pandemic has both, as we know, revealed and reinforced the digital divide, both within our societies and between the developed and developing world. But it's also led to this extraordinary leap forward in terms of the digitalization of our economies. So never have the opportunities been so great, and never has the divide been so deep. And therefore this, the necessity to bridge that digital divide, whether it be domestically or internationally, has never been more important. And right now we also see, with the effects of Russia's unprovoked aggression in Ukraine and the damage that has been caused by Russian missiles and bombs to the critical infrastructure, IT infrastructure of Ukraine, the loss of connectivity, the failure of telecom services, the mobile phone outages, the effects for a modern democratic society of being without connectivity. So we very much welcome the ITU Council's resolution on assistance to Ukraine in rebuilding their telecom sector. And we also know that we have to work together even harder to bring underserved communities and digitally excluded groups into the digital fold for the benefit of all of us, whether that's about improving the dissemination of information, growing the digital economy for both developed and developing economies, and bringing new voices into our global debates as we try and tackle the great challenges of the global commons in the 2020s. And to do that, I think we all know that we need smart and indeed sustainable investment in digital connectivity by both the public and the private sectors, complemented and indeed enabled by improvements to policy, regulatory and licensing frameworks. We need accelerated technological innovation, and we need business models in the private sector which support affordable last-minute connectivity, last mile connectivity. And we also know that connectivity alone isn't enough, that it's important to build digital literacy, digital skills, to promote safe and secure digitalization so that our citizens can, and our businesses can, take advantage of that connectivity to build successful digitalized businesses and to enjoy the benefits of a more digitalized society. As the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office in the UK, we want to see accessible, affordable, safe and sustainable connectivity to reach those who need it most. And we work with partner countries to use telecoms technologies to drive sustainable growth and widen social development. We have, as you'll know, a digital access program which works with governments, with regulators, and with industry in a few key countries, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Indonesia, and Brazil, to catalyze inclusive, affordable, safe, secure digital connectivity. The program supports digital skills development, picking up my point earlier, and the creation of locally relevant digital content and services. It tries to boost the cybersecurity capacity of governments and businesses, such an important issue for us right now, and it helps create, we hope, skilled local jobs. For example, by providing technical advice to help community networks make use of low-cost, sustainable technologies suited to those sort of remote contexts, or through the advice that we're offering, for example, to the Kenyan Communications Authority, how to update its own Universal Services Fund, expanding inclusive connectivity nationwide. As part of that digital access program, we launched a new partnership with the ITU last year, as you'll know, in which we bring together our expertise, experience, and networks to help partners improve telecoms regulatory frameworks, develop scalable business and funding models, and strengthen again those digital skills. And we hope that the outcome of that collaboration with the ITU will be the basis for a longer-term digital inclusion partnership. I think like everybody else in this call, we can and must help others close that connectivity gap at home and globally. And we stand ready to work with the ITU and UNECE and others here, private and public, to achieve that goal and to bridge this digital divide.
Спасибо большое, господин Мэнли, ваше превосходительство, за такое четкое и сильную позицию и стремление содействовать в преодолении цифрового разрыва, в котором ваша страна участвует в партнерстве с Международным союзом электросвязи и с другими странами мира. Очень радостно слышать, что то партнерство, которое сейчас реализуется вами с Международным союзом электросвязи, имеет очень радужные перспективы, долгосрочное планирование по преодолению цифрового разрыва и обеспечению такой полноценной цифровой инклюзии. И те направления работы, которые вы отметили, очень хорошо ложатся в платформу Partner to Connect, о которой упоминалось ранее моими коллегами. Мне кажется, все компоненты нашей такой глобальной платформы инициативы Partner to Connect охватываются в рамках тех программ, о которых вы рассказывали, и в части обеспечения доступа к связи, и в части создания услуг и сервисов, и в части построения навыков, повышения качества навыков населения и привлечения инвестиций, столь необходимых, особенно для развивающихся стран. Господин Мэнли, спасибо большое еще раз за вашу активную позицию и за мнение вашей страны в части важности партнерств, над которыми мы работаем. Коллеги, позвольте мне на этом пригласить нашего следующего спикера, который является представителем Агентства по регулированию связи Боснии и Герцеговины, господин Дражко Милинович. Является дипломированным журналистом, имеет также богатый опыт работы в СМИ, работы в государственной службе. Господин Милинович, с какими проблемами с вашей точки зрения, с вашей перспективы сталкиваются страны в деле создания надежной инфраструктуры ИКТ и партнерства, которые необходимо выстраивать для обеспечения доступности и безопасности связи? Пожалуйста, будем рады услышать ваше мнение. Господин Милинович, вам слово.
Thank you, Natalia. Excellencies, fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Global partnership, cross-sectorial and multi-stakeholders initiatives made therein play a crucial role to accelerate recovery and to getting us where we are striving by 2030. We are all aware that digital transformation can only be fully realized if high-quality access to communication networks and services are available and affordable prices for all people, no matter what they are, who they are, and where they live. Achieving this goal is not an easy task, especially for developing countries, and it requires strong collaboration between all stakeholders. Communication Regulatory Agency of Bosnia and Herzegovina, CRA, is to that and dedicated to its task to implement regulation that provides incentives and opportunities for investment in high-capacity broadband infrastructure to promote competition and to ensure affordable and secure access to high-quality communication networks and services for all. Furthermore, together with the Ministry of Traffic and Communication Agency is actively working on transposing the European Electronic Communication Code into the new law of electronic communications and adapting a broadband strategy for Bosnia and Herzegovina since COVID-19 provides that reliable broadband and affordable access is of the vital interest for our societies. To be able to adapt, inform regulatory decisions, to monitor policy implementation and to determine regulatory challenges, we at the CRA have identified the need to rely on data analytics as a prerequisite for the comprehensive broadband mapping system is required. In order to overcome strategic and institutional shortcomings, CRA applied for technical assistance from ITU. Project was launched in second half of 2021 through the collaboration of ITU and engagement of experts from Slovenian regulatory body. ITU policy paper under the title Enabling Environment for Broadband Mapping in Bosnia and Herzegovina was issued. Main objective of the project was to support efforts in Bosnia and Herzegovina towards strengthening its broadband mapping operation to improve the deployment and uptake of connectivity throughout Bosnia and Herzegovina. In particular, the aim was to identify and empower key stakeholders to better perform the tasks that underpin targeted development. Project activities encompass the regulatory assessment as well as proposals and recommendation to establish a positive climate that would enable the national regulatory authority to obtain, exchange, and use data on telecommunications infrastructure and services for needs of the digital platforms and developments. A number of meetings with different stakeholders have been organized to increase awareness that the institutionalization of geomapping in the country is necessary. In case proposals and recommendations for enabling environment to receive institutional support, clear project design and all technical specifications can be easily undertaken. Good practice and experience from Slovenia were of huge importance for the project. The exercise of assessing Bosnia and Herzegovina's broadband landscaping, the landscape needed in already exist experience which Slovenia could leverage. ITU's decision to leverage Slovenian experience stems not only from consolidated collaboration established between ITU and Slovenian National Regulatory Agency, but also from the geographical ties that exist between Slovenia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. The project may serve as an example of multi-stakeholders cooperation that proves as important vehicle for mobilizing and sharing knowledge and expertise to support the achievement of the connectivity for all as a part of sustainable development agenda. ITU and UNECE dedication to develop and implement partnership is therefore highly appreciated. Finally, I really assure you that under my leadership, agency remains open for dialogue and cooperation. And I'm very much look forward to meeting you in person in future. I hope so. Thank you for your attention.
Спасибо большое, господин Милинович, за ваше выступление. И подведя небольшие итоги нашего первого сегмента, который был, напомню, посвящен вопросу создания технической инфраструктуры, поддержки создания технической инфраструктуры связи. Уважаемые коллеги, уважаемые господа, сегодняшние выступающие, позвольте вас поблагодарить за то, что вы представили и информацию, и перспективу ваших стран, рассказали, поделились с нами с примерами существующих партнерств, направленных на создание устойчивой инфраструктуры, будь то в ваших странах или то, что делает ваша страна в сотрудничестве с другими странами или организациями. Да, мы услышали примеры такой инициативы, как ГИГА, мы услышали примеры работы, направленные на картирование широкополосного доступа в Боснии и Герцеговине, мы услышали примеры крупной программы по цифровому доступу, которую реализует Великобритания, и те партнерства, которые существуют уже с Международным союзом электросвязи, с ЮНИСЕФ, с UNECE, и надеемся, что эти партнерства будут расширяться. И понимая, осознавая, что коммуникационная инфраструктура является не единственной компонентой, которая позволяет действительно использовать все преимущества цифровых технологий нашей цифровой эры, еще одним не менее важным компонентом является уполномочить, дать возможности сообществам, людям, гражданам пользоваться этими технологиями. И именно этому вопросу у нас будет посвящен второй сегмент нашего сегодняшнего мероприятия по расширению прав и возможностей сообществ, общин, граждан и в целом населения. И сегодня с нами в рамках второго сегмента выступят Кристине Гöncan, представитель Армении, и Янис Вардаканастис, если я правильно произнесла фамилию, который, насколько я знаю, не сможет включиться к нам непосредственно, но мы сможем заслушать его видеоответ на мой вопрос. Итак, коллеги, продолжая нашу дискуссию, хотелось бы отметить, что одним из таких программ, проектов, который направлен на расширение прав и возможностей сообществ, является построение таких общинных сетей, community networks, и господин Мэнли в своем выступлении тоже отметил это направление работы. Вот такой подход, когда сами сообщества имеют возможность создавать и развивать такие общинные сети доступа к интернету, помогает помогает обеспечить подключение наиболее удаленных, малонаселенных сельских районов. Однако в то же время из-за сложностей, связанных с регулированием таких сетей, их развитие не всегда имеет широкое распространение, и в странах нашего региона, в некоторых странах этот опыт достаточно успешный, например, в Грузии, в других странах он менее распространен, но тем не менее применяется там, где другие технологии невозможны. В этой связи я бы хотела пригласить Кристине Гюнджан, которая является и возглавляет Союз операторов Армении, и под ее руководством организация вносит очень существенный вклад в развитие телекоммуникационного сектора Армении и работает в тесном партнерстве с правительством, с гражданским обществом, с международными организациями в части реализации проектов по развитию цифровых навыков, безопасности сетей в интернете и так далее, и так далее. Я бы хотела пригласить, Кристине, вас поделиться вашим мнением, вашим опытом, как расширить права и возможности общин с тем, чтобы они в полной мере могли пользоваться плодами цифрового общества, как обеспечить цифровую инклюзию наиболее уязвимых слоев населения, людей с ограниченными возможностями здоровья. Сегодня вы уже у нас участвовали в другом сайд-ивенте в рамках нашего форума, который касался непосредственно задачи цифровой инклюзии для людей с ограниченными возможностями здоровья. И спасибо вам большое за ваше такое активное участие в рамках этого форума. Госпожа Гюнджан, пожалуйста, вам слово. Ответьте, поделитесь вашим мнением и вашим опытом.
Спасибо, Natalia. Thanks, dear colleagues. Thanks for inviting me to this high-level event, and thanks for the chance to share my insights and experience about the community's empowerment. Empowering communities means also empowering vulnerable groups. And as Natalia mentioned, this morning I had the pleasure to participate in the side event dedicated to digital inclusion for people with disabilities. And I find it very important, as the digital inclusion can present an important opportunity for people with disabilities, since they are increasingly enabling to get access to education, skills development, and employment. Electronic communication sector and digital inclusion is priority for the Armenian government. Last year, the government of Armenia adopted the digital transformation strategy of Armenia, and currently the broadband development strategy is on the table and under discussion. These two strategies should be interconnected and work collaboratively, and it's important that government and public sector collaborate to reach better results. The digital inclusion and broadband internet development is also priority for the Union of Operators. And to support it, last year we have started a pilot community network project initiative, partnering with the Ministry of High-Tech Industry, Regulatory, ISOC, ITU, World Bank network operators, and other local partners. Partnerships with different entities help us to cover all the aspects of the project. Some of them support us, support the project financially, some with advice, some provide their infrastructure, and some support with the digital skills development programs. When I have started thinking about the project of bringing the broadband internet to rural underserved areas, my main concern was, okay, what would they do with this internet? How the community can benefit from it, and what actions should be taken, and by whom to empower the community to benefit from the opportunity of having high-speed internet. One of the doubts was how to involve everybody in the community and not leave anyone behind. It's easier to involve young people. They are always interested in new things and technology, but labor force and pensioners are also an important target group in the agenda of the digital development, taking into account that there is a need to ensure the continuity of the employment process and the possibility to use the digitalized public services. To support the digital inclusion, in a few weeks, robotics labs will be opened at the school of this rural area. Online safety trainings will be provided to children and their parents and teachers, as well as digital development trainings are planned for all age groups according to their needs. We are actively working with ITU on digital skills development, telecom sector and child online safety issues, and on many other different initiatives. And I am very thankful to my colleagues in ITU for supporting us in this. We want to cover all the aspects of the digital development and be sure that as a result, everybody can benefit from the high-speed internet access. Community network project aim to create a real model which can be applicable for other communities as well. This model with support of partners can be spread to other communities as well and cover the digital divide. When affordable access, digital skills, and trust for technologies are in place, government, private, and public sector collaborate, I think it will be easier to reach the digital inclusion for all. Наталья.
Кристине, спасибо большое за такую насыщенную информацию, которой вы с нами поделились. Действительно, те усилия, которые вы прилагаете, приносят результаты и охватывают не только отдельную категорию людей, а, как вы отметили, всех людей, все сообщества. И особенное внимание, как мы видим, уделяется удаленным регионам, в которых значительно меньше возможностей реализовать свой потенциал без вот такой всесторонней помощи и партнерства между всеми заинтересованными участниками, как на уровне самой страны, да, правительства, частного сектора, гражданского общества, но и международного сообщества, которое может оказать и должно оказывать содействие в достижении целей устойчивого развития и преодоления цифрового разрыва. И особенно приятно тот упор, который вы делаете на инклюзию в части людей с ограниченными возможностями. Как уже мы утром на сайд-ивенте отмечали, эта тема очень живая, трепетная, и мы видим, что страны региона делают колоссальные усилия для того, чтобы постараться реализовать свою цифровую трансформацию с полной инклюзией всех людей, всего общества. Спасибо большое, Кристине. И на этом, коллеги, давайте мы продолжим. Как я уже отметила, наш следующий спикер – это господин Янис Вардакантасис, который является таким активным борцом за права людей с ограниченными возможностями здоровья. В 2021 году он был избран на пост президента Международного альянса людей с инвалидностью, с чем мы его и поздравляем. К сожалению, насколько я понимаю лично, Янис к нам подключиться не может ввиду непредвиденных обстоятельств, но он записал ответ на наш вопрос, который я позволю себе еще раз повторить. Это как можно расширить права и возможности сообществ, в частности, людей с ограниченными возможностями, с инвалидностью, чтобы они могли в полной мере пользоваться плодами цифрового общества. И я бы хотела попросить нашего технического модератора показать нам видеоответ Яниса.
On behalf of the European Civility Forum, and the International Civility Alliance, I would like to thank you for inviting us to this very important event today. Many of you would already know the International Disability Alliance, but for those who may not, IDA is an alliance of alliances. We represent over 1,100 organizations of persons with disabilities and their families in 182 countries around the world. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities has been our milestone. We work with organizations of persons with disabilities to use international human rights and development processes to create change in our own countries. And we advocate at the UN for a more inclusive and accessible global environment for everyone. As highlighted by SDG 17, digital development can only be achieved with a partnership-based approach. Inclusive digital development processes must be participatory and accessible. This was one of the most important outcomes of the second Global Disability Summit held a few weeks ago in February. Digitalization is not a silver bullet that would solve all of our problems, but it could allow others to understand individuals with disabilities communications. It could augment children with disabilities access to education. It should connect voters with disabilities to accessible information such as sign language interpretation or easy to read formats to take part in political processes. The pandemic has brought us to an inflection point where ICT advancements are racing ahead for some and threatening to leave others in the dust. With these inequalities, we know that many persons with disabilities have already been left behind. We see the promise in partnerships for a digital society not to be fulfilled. To make this a reality, these partnerships must include partnerships with persons with disabilities and their representative organizations. We have the mechanisms through the United Nations Sustainable Development, through consultations with our governments, and through the With Their 15 campaign for the private sector. Together, these things will improve access and inclusion and information for persons with disabilities in election cycles, in the workplace, and in this new digital world. I would like to thank you all for your attention. Let's make change a reality. Let's bring the respect of human rights and inclusion in this very important sector of our life.
Спасибо большое, Янис. Несмотря на то, что вы не смогли лично участвовать, мне кажется, очень сильные, вдохновляющие слова. В общем-то, все сказано, и всем нам есть что взять и над чем продолжить нашу совместную работу. Спасибо большое всем выступившим в рамках первого и второго нашего сегмента. И подводя итоги, я бы хотела отметить, промежуточные итоги, я бы хотела отметить, что преодоление цифрового разрыва и обеспечение равных прав и возможностей для всего населения и для наиболее уязвимых категорий населения является, конечно же, сквозной задачей для всех целей области устойчивого развития, для целей искоренения нищеты, голода, обеспечения здоровья, благополучия, образования, достойной занятости. Все эти аспекты в той или иной степени были затронуты сегодня нашими панелистами. Цифровые технологии предоставляют людям большие возможности, в том числе людям с ограниченными возможностями, помогая преодолеть барьеры, особенно в сфере образования, доступа к информации, коммуникации, связи. И благодаря цифровым навыкам и возможностям такой удаленно виртуального общения и работы, то, что мы видели за последние 2 года пандемии, мы понимаем, что все сообщества из удаленных регионов, люди с ограниченными возможностями здоровья получают неоценимые возможности приобрести новые навыки в сфере IT, найти новые возможности работы и самореализации. Однако, конечно же, вместе с новыми возможностями неотъемлемо появляются новые барьеры, но мы смотрим на них не как на проблемы, а как на вызовы, задачи, которые нам необходимо вместе решать. И создание многосторонних партнерств при безусловном вовлечении представителей всех заинтересованных сторон, сообществ, правительства, гражданского общества, академических кругов, частного сектора, конечно же, позволит нам добиться того, чтобы никто не остался позади и вне цифрового общества. На этом я бы хотела завершить рассмотрение первых наших 2 сегментов и возвращаю микрофон Ярославу. Ярослав, пожалуйста.
Thank you very much, Natalia. And I think that now we would move to the next session, which is going to be moderated by Elizabeth.
Many thanks, Yaroslav.
But Elizabeth, I was just informed that, in fact, before we are starting the next session and moderation, we would like to welcome the youth representative to join us and convey the message on behalf of the youth. So over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Pauline Laufer. And yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and make the voice of the youth being heard. As Youth Envoy of the ITU Generation Connect Europe group, we aim to ensure meaningful youth engagement and participation to create, advocate, and contribute to the policy-making process, shaping the digital future. This Monday, we organized the 2nd Digital Youth Jam in preparation of the Generation Connect Global Youth Summit. During this event, a series of inspiring messages and discussion took place on meaningful youth participation in the digital transformation policymaking, quality education for future digital societies, and actions undertaken by youth to empower young women and girls in STEM. These 3 points resonate well with the focus of today's discussion. The youth leaders identified 3 priority steps to ensure meaningful youth engagement. First, there's a need to take into consideration the diverse backgrounds of young people, and as such, there's a need to tackle inequalities to access and navigate in the digital world globally. Therefore, we must provide the necessary ICT hard and soft infrastructures to all communities, including vulnerable populations, girls and women, or persons with disabilities, to take quality education available for everybody. Secondly, in line with the first step, we need to give young people the chance to learn and grow. This can be achieved by providing a flexible education that adapts to the fast-changing digital world. Digital literacy, technical and soft skills open doors to a brighter future. Youth all over the world, and especially girls who have access to ICT sectors, are empowered by the knowledge that it provides to them and are encouraged to create impact to foster digital development at the community level and become role models for future generations. Third, we as youth ask you, digital and ICT stakeholders and policymakers, to bring young people to the table. The involvement of youth into collaboration between stakeholders and decision makers should not take place just at the end of the process, but already at the very beginning and in every of the building blocks. We, the IC Europe group, are already engaged to play an active role in policy making towards the digital future, and we are working to motivate our fellow youth to get involved and become part of the change. But we will also continue to point out inequalities in decision-making processes and in situations when the voices of important stakeholders like the youth, women, or minorities are missing or underrepresented. We have an opinion and we are not scared of change, so we will happily play an active role providing ideas and solutions. Make sure that the voice of the youth is not only heard, but listened to. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for this intervention, and all points are quite well noted, but of course it's not only to note the points, now we have to together think how to transpose them into the real actions, and this is exciting part of making the meaningful engagement of the youth in this work, and we are looking forward also to work with the group for Europe, but also youth group for CIS to be engaged in the implementation and design process on the daily basis. So thank you very much, Pauline, for this. And now it's great pleasure to hand over the floor to Elizabeth for the moderation of the third segment of this discussion. Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Jaroslav, and great pleasure now to follow suit on the youth statement. And I couldn't agree more with the fact of the great importance, but also value added of bringing youth to the table. So, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers,